So 2 asks us to do this via substitution. So I think it's pretty obvious that this would be the equation that I want to do my substitution on, since I can rewrite this into negative z equals 3 minus 4y, or more appropriately, z equals 4y minus 3y. So I'm going to use that expression for z and then plug it into the other two. So when I do that, I can have x plus 5y plus 3 times 4y minus 3 equals to 4, and 6x minus 2y plus 4 times 4y minus 3 equals 0. And when I simplify these down, I get x plus 12y plus 5y is 19y, and then add 9 to the other side gives me 13, and then I have 6x plus negative 2y plus 16y is 14y, and then I add the 12 to both sides. So this is my system. Okay with that, Bryce? Okay. I'm then going to choose one of these again to do the substitution on. Hopefully it's pretty obvious why I would choose this one and to get the x by itself. So here I can just say x is equal to 13 minus 19y. And when I plug that in down below, I have 6 times 13 minus 19y equals 12. So 6 times 13 is 78 minus 19y equals 12. If I subtract 78 from both sides, I have negative 19 equals negative 66. And something feels wrong about that. When I divide this by negative 19, I get what? Or no? That's not right, though. 14. Oh, yeah, I still have that 14 in there. That's the problem. Thank you, Justina. Thank you. I was like, why is this not working? That makes a heck of a lot more sense. Okay. So that's going to give me 78 minus 5y equals 12. And I still have a problem here. That's still not right. Where's my mistake? Oh, good gracious, Kulik. Yeah, can you tell? I've been, I'm like, I still have a lot left. I definitely haven't had enough. All right. So again, we'll just erase all this stuff for the 56th time. Come on, Kulik. Well, that's still not looking very good. You want to start from the beginning? Okay. All right, we'll do it again. Bryce, don't panic. Just compare. I'm going to do it the same way. So see if you can find what the mistake is. So nobody panic. Riles, yeah, go ahead, dude. Okay. So this equation that I'm going to choose as the one that I'm going to eliminate with is this one. When I do that, I'm going to get the z by itself. There's my equation for z. When I plug that into the first equation, I get this, and I distribute the 3 through. And then I have 5y plus 12y is 17y. And I add the 9 over, and I get 13.
Wait. I got you.
That's the mistake already? Oh, good. See, it was arithmetic. I knew it was going to be something stupid, because that's the kind of day I've been having. Yeah. Do you ever have dumb days? Yeah, I'm just doing the other equation now. So now again I did that one to here, and then I'm doing it to here. Okay. So this one is going to give me 13 minus 17y, and I'll plug it in over there. Six times 13 is 78. 6 times 17 is 102. Plus 14y equals 12. 102, or negative 102 plus 14 is negative 88. And when I subtract that 78 over there, I get negative 66. And when I divide both sides by 88, negative 88, I get positive 3/4. Now, what am I going to do with that? I'm going to plug it back into this one to get my value for x. When I do that, I get 1/4. Check on your calculator if you don't believe me, or make your common denominators, but I promise you that's what that gives us. And then once I have those two, or well, really just that one, I can go back up here and I can get 1. That's what I got. That's x. So I have 1/4, 3/4, 1.
Wait, can you just go up for a minute?
Oh, did I put the wrong thing there?
Yeah, because it says equals 4y.
Oh, thank you. So that's 0. Thank you. Sorry about that mess. All right. Next question from the HWWs. That's homework. Woo! You asked. Justina. 4 or 5? I'm going to choose to do 5 because 4 is exactly the same problem we just finished with. I mean, it's asked you to do it a different way, but for variety's sake, so you might look at this and go, what the heck am I supposed to do? This looks so hard. It's actually made exceptionally easy for you. Because notice I already have an equation with the x eliminated from it, right? So I'm already halfway done with my elimination. So what I need to do is I need to eliminate the x from the other two equations. To do that, I'm just going to do 2 times equation b and add it to a. Is everybody okay with that? That's going to give me my equation e. When I do that, I'm going to get 3y minus 3z equals 3018. Okay with that, J. Gaynor? Okay. And then what I'll do, I guess I'll probably eliminate the y's. That seems like the next easiest thing to do. So I'm going to do negative 3 times equation d and add it to equation e. When I do that, the y's cancel, and I have negative 18z equals 3 times negative 6 is negative 18, plus 18 is 0. So I get my z equals 0. When I do that, I can plug it back in here, and it's easy to see that y equals negative 6. And once I have that, I can go and plug it into, say, both of these into 2. And that's going to give me negative x minus 12 minus 0 equals 15. Sorry, guys. Mr. Kulik did it again. Alright. So, when I multiply this thing by negative 3, I get a positive 18. So when I do that, I got 36. So this should be negative 2. Jeepers creepers. So that's going to be y minus 10 equals negative 6. So y is going to be 4. So when I plug in back to here now, I have negative x plus 8 plus 6 equals 15. So I have that x equals 1. Negative. And that now gives me my final answer. Jeepers. Yeah. Where'd you get them peepers? My mother and father. Peepers are your eyes. It's genetics is how I got them from my mother and father. All right. Any final questions from the home WWs? Okay. So we'll sneak in here the, oh boy. I mean, go away. There we go. Okay. So we'll just kind of go through and see if people have questions from this thing. So we're asked to solve each quadratic equation using the method of your choice. Show your work and write your answer in reduced exact form using imaginary numbers if necessary. You can use that from all the problems, although you have to do some pre-processing if you do that for every one of them. Some of them they might be easier to use, like the reverse order of operations. This is a study guide. And this is very similar to what you did on the quiz. I cut some parts off of it in the interest of time. And then I ask you to completely simplify each expression of complex numbers. Anybody with a question on what to do for these ones? Solve the quadratic equation. You're good? Okay. And then, Bryce, this is your question that you had asked about here. Write the standard form equation for the circle. So the idea here is I want to get it to the equation that I'm given to look like this. To do that, I'm going to use completing the square. So I'm going to start by grouping all the x parts together, and then all the y parts together, and I move the constant to the other side. And the tool that I'm going to use to make this thing look like this thing is completing the square. So the first step in completing the square is to make the leading coefficient 1, but that's already done because I just have 1x squared. My next step is to add b over 2 squared to both sides. Now I'm going to do that same process to this one. Again, the leading coefficient is already 1, so I can skip that step. And then I'll add b over 2 squared to both sides.
What do you do with that one?
You divide. And now I can factor this piece. This factors to x plus b over 2 quantity squared. And I can factor this piece. It factors to y plus b over 2 quantity squared. And when I do this one, this is negative 25 plus 9 plus 25. That gives me just 9. Or if I completely simplify this, I have x plus 3 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals 3 squared. And there's my answer. That's not a big deal. If you wrote 9 instead of 3 squared, no big deal. Although technically the equation is r squared. But, so I wrote it as an r squared, but no big deal. 14 is similar. For 15 and 16, where you're writing the equation for the parabola, similar idea, but you only have to do the completing the square once, which is nice. For 17, where we ask you to write the equation for the parabola from the picture, Notice that I tell you you'll be given the parabola table from your notes. So you don't have to memorize any of that stuff. I'll give you that table to go along with this kind of a problem, because knowing the formulas for the focus and directrix. And I gave you 2 examples of doing those. And then we'll have some equations where I ask you to solve the system using substitution or elimination. Notice here that I specifically ask for one or the other, so you can do either one, but you have to do one or the other. You can't use your calculator. I mean, you can use it to check. That's perfectly fine, but you can't use it as your major method. But it doesn't matter to me which one of the 2 methods you go with. And then there's 3 variable systems. Again, same idea. And then there's some examples of some story problems. Sure. Can I do what? 25. So the idea here, the equation for the parabola is this. So there's 3 things I need to find. I need to find A, B, and C. So to do that, I'm going to I have 3 sets of x, y's. So I'm going to plug in each x, y into this equation to get a new equation. So when I plug in the -5 for x, I get 25a minus 5b plus c equals 1. When I plug the 3 in for x, I have 3a plus 3b plus c equals -12. And when I plug the 0 in for x, I have 0a plus 0b plus c equals 5. You could solve this via elimination or substitution, or you could write this as a matrix and solve it as a matrix. Notice there's nowhere in this section that required you to do by hand methods. So if you feel good about using this method here, that would be appropriate, and this would be the kind of work that I would expect to see. So you just write RREF there, because that's what you're doing on your calculator, and then you just break out your calculator and type in your matrix. So to do that, I'm going to press second and the x to the -1 button. Yoo-hoo, calculator, respond, please. You're a jerk. I'm going to use this one because it's a little bit faster, I think. Oh, it's my whole computer that's just freezing. Oops. Come back, please. Alright. So, press second and the x to the -1 button to open up the matrix. I'll just go over to the edit command and make my new matrix. This matrix that I have has 3 rows and 4 columns. And it has the entries 25, -5, 1, and 1. And the entries 9, 3, 1, -12, 0, 0, 1, and 5. I'll exit out of my matrix and then press second and open back up that matrix menu. This time I'm going to go over to the Math tab. From the Math tab, I'm going to find the RREF command, and I'm going to do the RREF on matrix A. So from the Names tab, I'll retrieve matrix A, press enter, and out spits this. And I go, oh, Mr. Gulick doesn't like decimals. If I press just the Math button, here's the fraction command. So if I do that, it gives me, oops, as fractions. Negative 27 over 1, or I'm sorry, 97 over 120, negative 389 over 120, and 5. Right, that's what it said there. Oops. Yeah. Stop, go away. I didn't open you. I mean, I did, but I didn't mean to open you. Would you stop validizing the stupid license? You are so slow and in. There we go. And then now my final answer. It tells me this tells me my value for A, my value for B, and my value for C. So I can say then y equals negative 97 over 120 x squared minus 389 over 120x plus 5. Yes, Abigail. Everybody okay with that? Sierra, that was for you, right? Okay. You're welcome. All right, so the first thing I notice that this is a parabola that opens up. So I'm going to be working from something in the form this, right? So to fill this in, I need to know the values for H, P, and K. I know that the equation for the directrix is y equals K plus, minus P. And then the equation for the focus is H comma K plus P. And I got that just by looking at my table. So right away I can tell what the value for H is. The value for H has to be negative 4 because that's the x-coordinate of the focus. And then I can say that P plus K equals 0, and K, well, let's write it as K plus P. And then K minus P equals 8 is a system. If I add those together and solve this via elimination, I get that K is 4. And then if I plug that back in, it's easy to see that P has to be, did I flip those around? Oh, yes, negative 8. Thank you. So that's K. Good. And then P then has to be 4. Thank you very much. I missed the negative sign on there because it was so very small. Oops. Okay with that, Abigail? Yeah. So again, not too difficult, right? Yeah. It's one of those where remembering what to do. You use the other version. Exactly, yes. Sierra? I am making a video. That's the plan. C money. K money. Yeah, the Claudster. Does it start with a C? I got confused. Justina, what's up? So remember there's two different versions, right? This is the left and right version. This is the up and down version. And that's in the table, right? It tells you which one is which in the table. Anything else here, my peeps? Snappy McGummerson over there. We did the last one already. Which one's 24? I'll just kind of do the setup for it. I won't actually solve it because the solving part's usually trivial, right? It's once you're able to solve a system, which is clearly what this problem is, it's no big deal. So I'm going to use T for 10s, F for 50s, and H for 100s. So it says I have $2,170 in my wallet. So I have 10 times T plus 50 times F plus 100 times H will give me my money in my wallet. It says I have 50 bills total in my wallet, so T plus F plus H should give me 50, right? And then I have twice as many 10s as I do hundreds, so T is going to equal 2H. And then it just solves the system. So again, in this section, because you're not told to use substitution or elimination, what can you use? You can use a matrix if you felt like it. Although again, it's not too terrible to do via substitution in this case, since you already have T is equal to 2H given to you. It's pretty quick to do that way. But you're welcome, brother. Is that it, guys? Any other questiones?
When you wrote the answer, you said like 10x minus 22.
That's the 10s are 22 of them. There's 17 50s and 11 100s. So I didn't want to give like a value because like I had a variable name to it because I didn't know what you're going to name yours.
Yeah.
So.
I thought it like 10. Like I thought X was a variable.
Yeah, I tried writing in words and it felt more confusing.
Yeah.
So, Justina. Shh. So you're talking about this one here? Okay, let's do this via elimination. So again, if this is A, B, and C, I would do 4 times C plus B, and then I would do negative 2 times C plus A, right? When I do the first one, I get 0 x's, I get negative 2 y's, I get 14 z's, and I get 12. When I do the next one, I get 0 x's, I get 1 y, I get minus 7 z's, and I get that's negative 14 plus 8 is negative 6. Okay there? And hopefully it's easy to see that the next step, I get 0 equals 0 when I do 2 times D plus E, 2 times E plus D. Right, Justina? So from here, I would pick one of these two equations. Let's say, for instance, I pick this one, and I would get the y by itself. Okay with that? Since this is written in terms of z's, the z is going to be like my independent variable for this answer. And then 7z minus 6 is going to be my y coordinate. And then I take that and I plug it in back up here. And I can solve for x to get the other component.